If you take only 1% of the world's money that is currently invested and you move it into gold, you're going to have gold at over $15,000. The US is an incredible country and with, fabulous people, but it does have this incredible ability to walk right up to the abyss, look at it, and then walk back. And it's happened time and time again in US history. And it's happening right now. And the abyss, of course, is the budget deficit, it's the debt, the federal debt, and the promises that they've made to their people that they can't fulfill. What do you do then? You devalue your currency. And that is the time-honored way to do it from the Roman all the way to today. If you look at every great civilization, they all ended up devaluing their currency, and that's how the empire finished.
I have to share this story. I don't even know if you remember this, but I feel I have a special bond with you because when I was starting my journalism career as a very young cub reporter at 20 years old, you were fully, already the reigning king of Franco-Nevada at this point. But my editors said, see if you could get an exclusive interview with that Lassonde. And, I tracked you down. I was a no-name journalist at the time, but you gave me that interview, and that kind of put me on the trajectory that I'm on now. So thank you for that. You gave me that shot.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing the story.
But with the time we have, obviously, I want to get your thoughts on this current market and on the world in general, Pierre. I mean, you have some pretty bold forecasts for gold, $17,250 to be exact.
And I may be conservative.
Right. So let's start. Let's start there because many people in the room might not know how you've come to this number. This, can I say it? It's a bold call.
Yep, it really is. And I understand that. And then, looking at the last few years, gold going from, 1800 to 4,150, not that I looked this morning. Um, but you could say, well, how can, it go a lot further? And some of the speakers over the last day and a half have talked about different reason why it would go. Frank yesterday talked a lot about the de-dollarization, what's happening in China in particular, and that's very real. And at the end of the day, when you look at the world today, what is happening? It's that gold is being re-monetized within the architecture of central bank reserve handling. So it's not only the central banks, but it's the wealth funds of various countries, private offices, family offices, hedge funds, etc. They look at gold and being remonetized. And if you take only 1% of the world's money that is currently invested and you move it into gold, you're going to have gold at over $15,000. And the reason is very simple. Gold is a small world. There's only 220 some thousand tons that's ever been mined that's still floating around the world. And on a yearly basis, there's only about 3,600 tons being mined, and that production only goes up by like 1 to 2% per year. But the reality is that it's been absolutely flat for the last 7 years. There's not been one more ounce produced on a 7-year basis than it has been. It's very difficult to increase production because first you have to find the deposit, then you have like all the environmental stuff that you have to go through, then you have to build it. So even though the gold price is $4,000 today, you can't go to a mine and turn a new mine on tomorrow morning. It takes time. And I've been to several of the presentations over the last day and a half, and you see timeline like 20, 29, 30, 31, 35. Well, that's quite a few years down the road. So you have to deal with what you have today. It's 3,600 ton a year, 220,000 ton. If, part of the money that's out there wants to move into gold, gold's going to go higher, period.
But you even take it one step further than price, I want to say. You make a very compelling statement saying we are living in a life changing period where gold could go back as a reserve or is on track to go back as a reserve currency. Is that correct?
Well, it is. It is being remonetized. And you see, for example, central bank reserve 10 years ago, 88% of the reserve were US dollars, and gold was not even barely 10%. And today, the US dollar is down at 58% of central bank reserve worldwide, and gold has gone up to 20%. I believe that there's more room for gold to go up because when you look at the currencies out there, whether it's the US dollar, the euro, the Japanese yen, the British pound, I'm talking about the currency that are free floating, they all have the same issues. And the same issue is they all have tremendous budget deficit that is being accumulated on top of, like, the debt that are over 100% of GDP. And essentially, we're at a point where all the welfare system, all the benefit system that were created in the 60s and 70s under economic conditions that were post-war, great growth, population growth, today, none of the governments can afford them. But if you're a politician, are you going to go and get elected if you tell them, I'm going to cut your benefits? I'm going to, spend less and I'm going to default on my obligations. And the answer is no. You get elected if you promise more. Look at what's happened in the United States. Well, the United States, under the new administration, I mean, it's a smorgasbord of, eye-watering deficit, on top of, already 38 trillions of debt. They have, a really difficult situation. Europe is in no better shape. Okay, like, France, look, just look at how many prime ministers they've had just in the last year. They cannot get to turn, and they're just trying to keep the, like they've raised the pension age to 64. Now they want to bring it back to 62. They can't even afford 64. They want to bring it back to 62. They have a huge problem. Germany, Italy, all of them. And so if, at the end of the day, the answer for a lot of people is to say, okay, I'm going to move part of my money into gold, which is the real safe asset at the end of the day.
We'll get right back to the interview, but this is an important moment to ask yourself, when the next crisis hits, will you be properly positioned or wish you prepared earlier? I've spent over 2 decades reporting on global economic shifts, and what's happening now is unprecedented. In moments like this, timely decisions are critical. That's why we've put together the Private Wealth Playbook. It's a free guide showing you how to use gold and silver strategically for protection, privacy, and long-term performance. Click below or visit DannyReport.com to download it now so you can move forward with clarity and confidence. Now back to the show. I have a lot of people stopping me saying, I don't even know where to live anymore. I don't think I've ever seen so many people moving countries so fluidly as I see right now. I mean, is there any good place to be living right now, Pierre?
Well, I just moved to Switzerland.
The Italian part.
Oh, yes. I love the Italian part. It's Swiss efficiency with Italian flair, like I do. But truly, Switzerland is one of those rare country that, I think it has to do with the form of democracy that is unique to Switzerland, that really doesn't permit the politician to build roads to nowhere or to give money to companies because they're accountable directly to the people.
Just on this note, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but I am curious as a Canadian because we have, had conversations about how Justin Trudeau basically destroyed the country over 10 years, and we have many Canadians in the audience. Are you more optimistic for Canada now under Carney?
Oh yeah, I am definitely more optimistic. I think that Carney has seen the light. Carney is, frankly, he should have run as a conservative because he's far more conservative than he's liberal. His policies are to develop the oil and gas industry. Look at what the money that they're putting into mining. I mean, for us in the mining industry, it's incredible. that finally Canadian government recognized that mining is a key part of our, country. We haven't seen that in 50 years. I think it's fabulous, and they're putting money in the industry. Unfortunately, they did let all of our big mining company go in the 25 years ago. The Alcan, the Falconbridge, the Noranda, the Inco, those are all gone, and we have to recreate the industry. But Canada is the second largest land mass in the world. Where do you find mine? Is on land. Okay, so there's, I believe, a great future for Canada.
Do you think they'll start adding gold back to their reserves? As we know, they sold all their gold, and the pushback I often get is, oh, we could just mine it. We have so much of it. But to your point, you can't just mine the gold out of the ground. But do you think they'll start adding reserves back, Pierre?
In terms of Canada, whether they're going to do that or not, we're so tied to the U.S. that so far it has not been like even thinkable to do that. But I think if we want to be independent of the U.S., Canada will probably have to start, like, getting some gold in its current reserve currency.
Getting back to the US, you have been vocal in saying that Trump has been the greatest gift for gold.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Trump is, is the greatest gift, and as long as he's in power, gold's going to keep going up.
I know Frank brought this up yesterday. We had done another panel with Robert Friedland, yourself, and Frank, and in it, you were optimistic at the time, saying there's no other alternative to the US dollar. That was maybe 3 years ago. Have you since changed your stance on that?
On a day-to-day basis, the US dollar is still the easiest currency to have in your portfolio because the market are so large, so liquid. You just push a button, you get your money, you can come in and out. So that part is still valid. The part on the de-dollarization, what China is doing, like the Frank touched on it a bit yesterday as well. The ICBC, which is like the biggest Chinese bank, is just opening up a 2,000-ton vault in Hong Kong, and it will allow the various countries that are within the sphere of influence to change their renminbi or yuan into gold. So essentially, they're going back to the old monetary order that we had after the war, where the central banks could change their U.S. dollars into gold until Nixon closed the gold window because the US was running a huge deficit, and the French figured it out first. And they were sending all their dollars back and give me the gold until they finally they were going to run like Fort Knox, like absolutely down to nothing, and they closed the gold window. So today, China is doing that role. But if you look at the percentage of trade that is being done in renminbi, it is going up every year, okay? But it's got a long, long way to go. And unfortunately, the renminbi or yuan will never be a reserve currency under the autocratic Communist Party that you have in China. Nobody will ever trust them.
I think the other interesting thing you mentioned, and we were at a very great dinner last night with great conversation, and I think you and Rick Rule were the only real optimists in the room. And something interesting you said that stuck with me is you feel the U.S. just when it looks like it's getting to that cliff and it's going to fall over, somehow magically it saves itself from the abyss. Can you talk a little bit on
Yeah,
why you think that?
the U.S. is an incredible country, and with fabulous people. How they elected the one they elected, go figure out. But it does have this ability, this incredible ability to walk right up to the abyss, look at it, and then walk back. And it's happened time and time again in U.S. history. And it's happening right now. And the abyss, of course, is the budget deficit, it's the debt, the federal debt, and the promises that they've made to their people in, like old age pension fund and everything else that they can't fulfill. Rick Rule touched about it this morning. Is like 120 trillion of future debt, and they can't afford it. But that's not just the U.S. Again, it's Europe total. Okay, all the G20 population is in decline, and whereby in the 1960s you had 4 workers for 1 retiree, today it's 1 to 1. doesn't, the math don't work anymore. So what do you do then? You devalue your currency. And that is the time honored way to do it from the Roman all the way to today. If you look at every great civilization, they all ended up devaluing their currency, and that's how the empire finished. I mean, the Romans started to devalue the currency in 180. They devalued the currency by 80%, and by the time the barbarians showed up at the door, there was no money. The real money disappeared.
So, I mean, you have grandkids, many grandkids,
Yeah,
right?
7.
So, what do you tell them when they say, or maybe you have these conversations of what will life look like for them in, 10, 15 years, Pierre? I mean, people talk about an apocalypse and,
No, I'm
very,
not. Life is better than it's ever been, and it will continue to get better. Like if you look at all the inventions that are done, all the patent being filed, life on the planet today is so much better than it was when, I was born or when I was a teenager. And I've seen the changes, like in the cars. I still have a 1965 car. Every time I drive it, I have to relearn how to drive. There's no power brake, there's no power steering. Okay, and so you get to a red light, you push the brake, nothing happens.
and it's the wheel
Okay,
that's impossible to.
no, and then you push harder and nothing happens, and then you just like stand on it, and then finally it breaks. Okay, I mean, like, so just to think about the incredible benefits we've had, life will continue to get better. And people adapts. Okay, you look at hyperinflation in or like in Argentina. I've been there several times. People adapt. Okay, and the idea that like the world will come to an end, that's not going to happen.
I find it fascinating because you're from Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec. If anyone knows, that's like farmland Quebec.
Mhm.
Looking back, I mean, if I had told you this when you were 10 years old, that all the success you would have, what would you have said to me?
You're absolutely crazy.
What do you think was because I interview, obviously people like you, Frank Juice, and I see a common denominator, right, amongst you. What do you think made it for you? What do you think was the key to your success, Pierre, in terms of personality trait?
I think surrounding myself with better people all the time, and they make you look good. And I think that the other trait that I've used quite a bit is being able to make decision very quickly under, like where you don't get all the facts, but you have to make a decision. So that's also been one of the trait that has
Yeah,
helped me a great deal.
I noticed that. Um,
I mean, if I can tell the story,
yeah,
like the whole royalty thing, we raised $2 million, and then we said, well, what are we going to do with the money? Because we had no plan, and we raised the money to go ski in Nevada and to deduct it against taxes. I mean, that was the real money, the real reason why we created Franco-Nevada. Then we said, what are we going to do with it? So we started to talk about like, things. And my partner came from the oil and gas business. So he said, well, what about royalties? I said, well, maybe we should buy one. So a month after I'm in Nevada, I tell my geo, he said, what else are you looking for? I said, well, we're looking for royalties. If you see one, let me know. And 3 months later, he's in his office sipping coffee on a Friday morning, reading the Reno Gazette. And on page 3, there's a box ad with a phone number, royalty for sale. So he calls the guy. It's in Houston, Texas. And the guy said, yeah, I got a royalty. Where is it? It's in the Carlin Trend. This was like 1985. And I just happened to have worked in the Carlin Trend. I was just like, well, I'm really interested. I said, tell the guy to meet me Monday morning at his office in Salt Lake City. So over the weekend, I did the job and showed up in his office Monday morning. I offered him, we thought it was going to be worth $1 million. So I offered him $500,000, no. 750, no. $1 million, no. So I threw in 1 million shares of Franco. Stock was 65 cents, but it was only worth 30. So I said, fine, I done. No. Then he tells me, I got a bank loan. The bank called the loan. I got 90 days to repay, or they put me in bankruptcy. So then it's 2 million or nothing. I thought about it. I had all the numbers in my head. I went through. And I said, okay, you got a deal, 2 million, but I got to call my partner. So I called my partner. I said, Seymour,
Yep.
I got good news. I got bad news. He said, well, what's the good news? I said, well, we bought our first royalty, and I think we're going to make 5 times our money. Okay. I didn't know. I just bullshitted him.
Wow.
And then he said, well, what's the bad news? I said, we got no more money. He went on like for 5 minutes. So anyway, I hang up. I said, look, it happens that our lawyer are down below. We're going to go sign, tell them the terms. They will write up the paper. You and I go to lunch. We'll have a bottle of wine. We come back, we sign, we're done. Okay, we do that. Come back, we sign. I head to the airport. He goes back to his office. And who is at the door of his office to buy the royalty? The operator of the royalty.
Wow.
Carpe diem. That is my motto from day one.
Okay.
Seize the day.
I love.
And that's
I
the
love
royalty
these
that
stories.
became essentially Ghost Strike. It's already paid out over $1 billion too, and it's got another $1 billion to come.
Can that happen again today?
Yes, it can. I mean, we also did it with Ingrid, who's there with Detour, $2 million that became $1 billion. We've also done it with a few others. So it can still happen today. Yes.
But now that we're on great stories, like fireside chat stories, I know Frank Justra's version of this story.
Yeah.
But I want to know your take of when he came to you. When was it? 2001 or 2003? With the vision
2001.
for Goldcore.
Yep.
And he had to convince you. He said, you can't see it yet, Pierre. Is that true?
Yep.
That you need to
Nope.
convince. He had to twist your arm.
Yep. No, it's absolutely true. 2001, and it was at the King Hetty. We had breakfast. Oh, no, it was dinner. It was dinner, and with Ian Telfer, Frank, myself, and Frank was like so enthusiastic. This is the bottom of the market. Gold's going to go up. We should create a new global Canadian company. And I'm like, is he crazy? But I said, I knew instinctively that he was right. The 250 was the bottom of the market. And it was a time where I just sold Franco-Nevada to Newmont, and I was thinking, like, am I going to go to Newmont or what am I going to do? And anyway, Frank created what became, Goldcorp,
Wow.
which was at that point the best gold mining company in Canada. Absolutely.
Wow, what a story. Okay.
Yeah.
So now looking at the mining industry as a whole, what's your take on I asked Frank this yesterday. What's your take on the health of the sector today?
It's better than ever. The mining companies, if you're not making money at $4,000 gold, let me tell you, you should not be in the business. Okay, number one. Number two, all the mining companies, the CEOs that are in place have made all the mistakes in the 2010, 2020 era, and they're very disciplined. Capital return to shareholders is paramount. You see companies declaring dividend, doing buybacks, which you've never seen before. So the industry is more disciplined, has got more potential than ever before. It's in the greatest health. The junior sector is still struggling. I guess when you look at the discovery cycle, it's not kicked in yet. If you look at the 80s, like the Hemlo and the Voisey's Bay and the diamonds, and there was a whole slew of incredible discoveries in the 80s, early 90s. We have not, that has not kicked in yet, but looking at some of these companies that are here over the last 2 days, I think it's going to
Well,
come.
because I was going to ask you, where's that sweet spot for you today? Is it the majors, the mid-tiers, or the juniors? Where do you think the
Well, I mean,
lies?
on a personal basis, I'm invested right through the whole sector. I've got one exploration company, ATEX, all the way to a development company, all the way to the one I created 10 years ago, which is now like a sizable mid-sized company. And it's all about people. I mean, good people make good things happen. Bad people, you don't have to say the rest.
Well, you say you're not retired, you're rewired.
That's correct.
And I'm sure you get asked this all the time because you could go off into the sunset. You've made your money, Pierre. You've had tremendous success. What keeps you going?
I love creating wealth and I love giving it away. And so, the more I make, the more I can give away. And that's what I love.
And now you have a new project you're involved in, Fuerte. Talk to us a little bit about why you took this on.
Fuerte is a project that was discovered actually by Cambone. Then it was sold to Goldcorp, and it was passed on to Newmont. And for Newmont, it was sort of like undersized. It was not the size that they were hoping for. But this is a project that has over 660,000 meters of drilling. So you know that it's there. It's already permitted. So it's a question of putting like the right team of people around it, which is what I love to do, giving them the money, and then they do the rest. And if you look at the Lassonde curve, it's right in that sweet spot where like everything happens, and the NAV gets realized over the next sort of like 2 3 years.
So, what advice? I love going back to the grandkids. I love these family stories. I mean, do they understand what you've created?
Oh, they
The
do.
older ones probably do, but do they get it? Like, wow, grandpa's like really cool.
I would. Grandpas are never cool. Uh, but that I don't know. I mean, my grandson is now a banker. He's 25 years old. He's a banker in New York for one of the bank there, investment banker, and he gets it. Okay, like he really, really gets it. The rest of the family, like, not sure.
Like, we don't really know what he did, but we
Yeah,
think he's doing
but
okay.
what I do is I do get them involved in philanthropy right away. I give them a certain amount of money to give away every year. I make sure that they understand like what the world is all about. That if you've made it in life, that you have to share. And I'm trying really hard to get them involved very early.
But what's your advice to them if they're like, I don't know what to do maybe in life, or they're trying to find their purpose? I mean, what do you tell them?
Tell them do what you're good at, and so far they've done okay. I mean, I've been incredibly fortunate. I've got that grandson there. Got another one doing a PhD in engineering at Cambridge. Another one in medicine in Dublin at Royal College, a surgeon. I can't ask for any better. I
So,
mean, like,
well, engineering is in your blood.
yeah.
Is that something AI can take over one day? You think?
Yes and no. AI will simplify a lot of the engineer's task for, like when you're designing bridge loading and then all the mathematics behind that, you can do with a lot of AI. But AI will not displace people. Okay. At the end of the day, people want to talk to people. They want to do business with people, and you have communities living around these infrastructure. You have to go talk to them. AI is not going to go talk to them. And so, while AI will, improve our lives a lot, and then the lives of people, you still are dealing with people.
Oh, on the subject of tech, have you embraced Bitcoin?
No. No, I don't own any. I don't really understand the sector, and I don't know why anyone would want to own that stuff. But
You're talking to the right crowd. With the very limited time we have left, what do you want the people these fine people to know? Something to walk away with, some knowledge.
carpe diem, seize the day. You're seeing a lot of interesting companies here over the last 2 days. I think that's one tiny little part of the sector. If you're going to be in the gold sector, you want to be invested across the sector. And if your goal is to be 10% invested, you should own some bullion. You should own some royalty company. So a few, like, senior, intermediate, and some of the junior should be invested right across the profile. The risk profile is very, very different across the whole profile. And that's the only way that you're going to maximize your value.
Just on your Pierre Lassonde sniff-o-meter when it comes to people, right? Because you always say you have to look at the people behind the projects. Is it a gut feeling you have? I mean, obviously you're looking at their track record, et cetera, but how do you know if you're with the right people? Is it just a gut feeling, or how could you figure that out?
I mean, where have they been where did they graduate? What's their antecedent? And have they been in the field? What have they produced? Are they winners? At Newmont, I had 326 or so geologists working for me, all at PhDs, fabulous guys around the world. And I can tell you, four of them produced 90% of all the gold every year.
Wow.
Okay. And they were my lucky geologists. They were the guys that, they somehow they were just lucky. Now, luck is preparation meeting opportunity. And I remember going on a site with one of them, and he was like, "Yeah, I've seen this. This was somewhere in Indonesia. Oh, yeah, I've seen this. I was in China. Oh, that I saw in Russia." And he was able to put it all together and say, "Well, why don't you drill a hole here?" And bingo.
Wow.
Okay, and that's the kind of like incredible individual that you want to surround yourself with. It's not everybody. It's really not everybody.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Pierre Lassonde, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you again for giving me that opportunity over 20 years ago.
Well, you've done all right by
I've
then.
done okay.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.